Welcome to our webinar about reacting to political conflicts with innovative risk management solutions. We will wait a couple more minutes for all attendees to come into the webinar room, and then we will start. Welcome to our webinar about reacting to political conflicts with innovative risk management solutions. Thank you for taking the time to participate today. I'm Jessica Hablowitz, Marketing Manager at MBI, and I am moderating this session. We are very happy and still overwhelmed about the interest and feedback regarding our previous webinar, Political Conflicts and their Impact on Your Business. We had 70 attendees from more than 20 countries. That's why we decided to further pursue this topic and focus on how political risk data perform in an industry solution for our second session. To accomplish that, we have joined forces with our partner Geocom by VertiGIS, and they will present their risk management solutions in today's webinar. Thanks to the Geocom team for joining us and their collaboration. This webinar will demonstrate how to identify and mitigate political risks along the supply chain using SURE, a product of MBI's CONIAS risk product portfolio, and the risk management solutions developed by Geocom. Today's session will consist of 4 major parts. At first, we will get a short recap and overview about MBI's SURE data. During the second part, our partner Geocom will introduce themselves and present their risk management solutions. Using SURE in combination with Geocom's risk management solutions, disruptions in the supply chain can be anticipated and mitigated by appropriate measures. We also will get some insights into risk management through a demonstration of a use case within the automotive industry. For the last part, we will have a Q&A session where our experts will answer your questions which might come up during this webinar. The webinar will be kicked off by Karina Ziegelmüller, Global Partner Manager at MBI. Prior MBI, Karina was with HERE Technologies for about 12 years. There, she was responsible for building up the partner ecosystem in Europe and APAC, focusing on solution partners through various industries. We are also very happy having Jürgen Lutz from Geocom presenting at our webinar. Jürgen is working as branch manager at Geocom and is responsible for customers and partners from the manufacturing industry since 10 years. Prior, he had a 10-year tenure working as sales executive and business manager for Esri, who was the parent company to Geocom until the beginning of this year. His expertise focuses on automotive and industry solutions. We also have Lorenz Banzer from Geocom, who has been with the company for roughly 3 years now. In his role as tech sales engineer, he supports sales in the industrial sector and serves as the interface between sales and development. His areas of expertise are risk management and business continuity, as well as mobile applications. Before we start, I would like to add a few information on housekeeping. Firstly, you've been muted to avoid background noise. We will have some polls during the session and would like to kindly ask you for your participation. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the questions window. We will answer those during our Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If there's not enough time to answer all your questions, we will get back to you via email. Last but not least, a copy of the slides as well as the recording of the webinar will be shared with you this week. So let's get started now. Karina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jessica, for the introduction, and I'm happy that our last webinar was so popular. It was amazing. So we hope that today will be as interesting for you. So thanks everyone for your time today and attending the webinar. Jessica, let's get started about who we are, right? So who's Michael Bauer? So Michael Bauer International is a leading global data provider, which was founded in 2009 as part of the Michael Bauer Group. And since then, MBI has not only built up a huge global product portfolio, but also secured its top spot as data provider for leading retail, BI analytics, or automotive companies. Being a long-term preferred partner and provider to leading IT and GIS companies like Esri, and Precisely has been achieved through providing high quality data, but also through our focused customer and partner support. We provide global standardized data sets which are consistent and comparable, helping companies to understand their business potential, build analytic solution, and to grow globally. So we're constantly expanding our product portfolio. Over the last 18 months, for example, we have added global mobile trace data, established Michael Bauer Micromarketing in Düsseldorf, and acquired CONIAS in Heidelberg. And CONIAS is actually active since the late 80s. So it's very exciting having them in our group. Since 2009, MBI is a partner of HERE. And since beginning of this year, we took over the distributorship for their business in HERE data and location services. And we were very excited about that as well. Looking at the portfolio, so our portfolio consists of global boundaries and global market data like purchasing power, consumer styles, or tourism data, and we help companies to develop their expansion strategies. Since 2019, global mobile trace data has been added to the stack, and in Germany, for example, we are able to provide information to create products based on 76 million unique device IDs. So it is actually pretty huge, and we deliver that as well globally. Since 2020, political risk data, also on a global level, has been added to the portfolio, and as well the HERE distribution business for data and location services, rounding up our global stack. So for those who haven't had the chance to attend our previous webinar about political risk data, I would like to give you a quick recap. SURE is only one product of the CONIAS Risk Intelligence portfolio and stands for CONIAS Subnational Resilience Index. SURE brings news into context and helps to understand how these news can be impacted, for example, your supply chain. Defining a resilience index is supporting a long-term supplier strategy. In the upcoming solution demo by Geocom today, we will learn more how our political risk data contributes for better decision making. But first, let's get a common understanding about the definition of political risk. Globally active manufacturing companies have already established risk management departments to be prepared and to respond to disruptions like weather, like hurricanes and fires, or the economy like terrorists and trade wars, or the health crisis we're actually in the midst of. So political risk has become a part within the risk evaluation, but it's important to access valuable data and information, but also to understand and be able to interpret the information in the right way. We at MBI define political risk as intended or unintended consequences of conflictive processes on social issues, which are man-made and have an impact on the integrity of human life, existing infrastructure, or established process flows. Now we understand how political risk is defined, but when we do pay attention to it other than in our daily news and our iPad, so usually companies pay attention to political risk when violence occurs. It's actually a pretty late stage. But politically caused damage, such as war, is not falling from the sky, it's man-made, right? So CONIAS observes conflicts already in the phases before violence breaks out. And what's important to understand is that not every crisis leads to war, because there are countries or regions which are good or bad conflict solvers. Through decades of observing the dynamics of intra and interstate conflicts with our CONIAS database, we have learned a lot about the good and bad conflict solvers and have researched what makes the difference. The result is SURE. SURE allows us to distinguish between those good and bad conflict solvers and helps us to select the candidate in the supply chain who has the least political risk. So to recap, to calculate the resilience of a country or region, SURE combines processed political data as well as socio-economic data, which is actually one of MBI's core competencies. So the calculation is based on more than 2 million data points and can be updated on a monthly basis. So to give you a bit more precise number is that the team assigns in average over 120 regional risk values per day. To summarize our product, SURE has global coverage, but evaluation of data on a subnational level. That means you cannot include just a country because of a minor conflict in a minor region. The product is available with quarterly updates. If you need more regular updates, feel free to contact us. And it also indicates regions without or only minor recent political violence. SURE provides a full picture of ongoing conflicts, but also indicates current or anticipated political tensions. It assigns specific risk values on a regional level, but also has a global index for comparability and global interpretation, and can be easily integrated into your favorite IT ecosystem. So we do not know what challenges await us in 3, 5, or 15 years, but we can assume the following. All those countries and regions that have shown great resilience in the past will probably continue to deal best with these problems in the future. To give you more context and see our data in action, Jessica, let's get Geocom on stage and let's have a closer look on their risk management solution. Everyone enjoy and thanks for listening for now.
Thank you, Karina, for giving us an overview of SURE again. Jürgen, I'm giving over to you now for your introduction into Geocom, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Jessica. So, get the slides. As a partner of MBI, we are very pleased to attend the webinar. My name is Jürgen Lutz, and I would like to start with a small company presentation before I hand over to my colleague Lawrence for a demo. So, who is Geocom and who is VertiGIS? Geocom company history is long. Geocom, as a member of a new VertiGIS group, was founded in 1995, and after the purchase of SV Germany in 2010, Geocom was bought by an US investor in 2019 and is now under the roof of the VertiGIS group together with some other companies, mostly GIS companies. What are the key figures of VertiGIS? VertiGIS is a leading GIS solution provider and software developer. Our focus is on development of software solution services that help utilities, land management, public sector, energy, telco, and industry customers build bridges between business processes and location technology. Our product portfolio is used by thousands of customers around the world and is designed to enhance the capabilities of asset technology, mostly. What are the Geocom core markets? Only to give you a small insight. The core markets are manufacturing and industry, transport, logistics, and also we cover a different number of other markets, as you can see in the chart. VertiGIS is the largest platinum partner of Esri Inc. in the worldwide partner network and can therefore also play a leading role international together with his partners and his customers. The slide on the left shows you a small selection of our customers from different markets and with different applications. So coming over to our theme, risk management, business continuity. How does the service offer of Geocom by VertiGIS look like in the context of risk management, business continuity? First, we have a small questionnaire for you to give us an overview of the current risk management tools in your company. Jessica, please.
Yes, thank you, Jürgen. So we would like to ask you the question if the risk management process is defined in your company right now. So I will give you some time to answer this question for us now. So please take the time to put in your answer right now. Thanks to everybody who voted. So I will wait 5 or 10 more seconds. I'm seeing the answers coming in. Okay, I'm closing the poll now. Thank you very much for your participation. So here you can see the results. So 25% have a risk management process defined right now. 42% actually don't have a risk management process defined, and 33% don't know right now. So that's very interesting. And with that, I'm giving back to you, Jürgen.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for answering the poll. Coming over to our theme, what is the risk awareness of decision makers? We often have ask ourselves and our customers this question, and the answer is simple. It's very high. Many of our customers from various departments involved in risk management ask themselves the following question: what should I do to reduce risk? What are the costs? What is the impact? The answer to these and other questions have led Geocom over the years to develop risk management solutions and applications for a wide range of applications, resulting in a module portfolio of risk management business continuity, as you can see on the slide. With our solutions, Geocom offers tools that map and analyze processes within the supply chain. How this works, and we'd like to show you in a little demo. But first, we have another poll question. How do you use the tools, or if you use tools in your processes and in your company? Jessica, please.
Thank you, Jürgen. So I'm launching the poll right now. So we would like to know if you have risk management tools in use right now. So again, please take the time to answer, and I'll give you a couple of seconds for that. Thank you very much. I'm seeing your answers coming in. We really appreciate you taking the time to participate. So I'm closing the poll now, and I will share the results with you. So 25% say they have risk management tools in use. 58% actually don't have tools in use right now. So I think that will be really interesting in the demonstration. And 17% say they currently don't, but they plan to do it in the future. So I think, yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm giving back to you, Jürgen.
Thank you, Jessica. So how do these modules, how do our applications work? We would like to show you this in a little demo. Our focus in the demo will be the procurement module, as you can see here. mostly for supplier risk management tenders and for procurement departments. And also we can show you some insights of supply chain alerting. Here is I would like to hand over to my colleague Lawrence Banzer. Lawrence, can you take it over, please?
Thank you very much, Jürgen. I will now give over to you, Lawrence, for your demonstration of Geocom's risk management solutions, and I think we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica, for the short introduction. Let's share my screen. Okay, so a quite cordial hello also from my side. My name is Lawrence Banzer, and in the next 25 minutes, I'll give you a short overview about our risk management solutions with the focus on the procurement model. So yeah, let's have a deeper look to the CONIAS data and how we use them in our solutions. So what we see here is a web map-based application based on the ArcGIS technology. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with this technology. So GIS stands for Geographical Information System. And that means that the map plays a significant role in our solutions. This demo, based on production system as used by our customers. So, but what is procurement? Yeah, as my colleague Jürgen mentioned before, procurement is used in supplier management of various industrial companies, such as various OEMs or automotive suppliers like Continental. And this application creates transparency with regard to natural hazards and political risks. And in the end, this offers decision-making security for the users. Besides the technical background, what is displayed here in this map? For that, we open the legend. We see blue stars and colored points. Yeah? So the blue stars represent the own plant locations of a customer, and the colored points are tier 1 supplier location, which are calculated against the different integrated risk data. And based on the risk KPI value, the supplier location get colored. But what shows the KPI value? The KPI value indicates how vulnerable a location is to the risk or to a single risk, and the range of the KPI values goes from 0 to 10, where 0 means not susceptible at all and 10 means very susceptible. In this demo, we use, as you see, 3 risk classes, green, yellow, and red, and they have different KPI borders. So you see the intervals are not equal. These classes are not rigid. So our solution is individual adaptable. And this is one of our USPs. So if you want to have higher resolution risk classes, we can easily implement this. So some customers use equal 5 classes, some uses 10. So it really depends on the customer. But now let's have a look to the integrated risk data. For that, we open the layer list. And here in the top, we have the data on why you're all here today. So these are the CONIAS data. So if we activate one of these, warlike conflict, here in this example, we have customized class boundaries and colored based on the customer solution. And these class boundaries are based on the total KPI value, as you see in the legend here. But for better understanding, let's zoom into a typical supplier country, maybe like Mexico or something like this. First, switch the base map to see the borders. Okay. So when we activate another CONIAS layer, like the social conflict layer, we see that US, Mexico, and almost every other country in Central America is red. This is mainly related to the high potential of escalating demonstrations. When we switch to another layer, maybe the warlike conflict layer, we see that all of these countries are green because the initial situation in the countries is considered as very stable. But if we now activate the violet conflict layer, we'll find a different situation. Here, it becomes clear that CONIAS does not only consider the risk on a country level, but also on a regional or state level. And violent conflicts are defined by CONIAS as including terrorist attacks and isolated fightings. And terrorist attacks can be directed not only against civilian population, but also against companies and their locations. So therefore, this fine gradation in regions is particularly helpful for risk management. So customers can identify and actively approach vulnerable suppliers and check their security concepts on site. So we use the risk data to calculate site-specific risk values for each location, each hub in our supply chain, to create, as I mentioned, a transparency, and we can proactively identify weaknesses in the supply chain. This information helps to determine how vulnerable a location is and its potential for failure. So in the last webinar, you learned how exactly the evaluation is done for the political risk data. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact MBI afterwards. And as you see here in this demo, we have implemented risk data, of course, from CONIAS and also from Swiss Re. However, we can also integrate further data. So if you have already other risk data in use in-house, we can also integrate them via common interfaces. I talked a lot about risk data, KPI values, risk classes, but how do we perform the risk evaluation in our solutions? So at the beginning, all address data of the locations are uploaded in the system. So this can happen via Excel upload or via interfaces to an ERP system. And after that, the data is checked for correctness and then will be geocoded. So geocoding means locating the addresses on the map. Subsequently, the addresses are intersect with the integrated risk layers, and an automatic risk calculation is performed. And the calculation returns us a specific value, and based on this value, the location point is colored. We use the risk values of our data partners, but however our system allows us to include customer-specific weightings in the calculation. So weighting can be based on individual risks, regions, countries, etc. And this is another USP from us or from our solutions. Okay, let's have a deeper look at one supplier location and the risk at this location. Here in the so-called pop-up window, we find some basic information about the supplier, like the supplier ID, the type, the product which is produced at this location. And furthermore, we see here under supplied locations entries or ID entries, and these are the location IDs that are supplied by this location. This information or entry is very important because this information can later be used to create and display a supply chain relationship in the other module, the supply chain module. Okay, what else do we see? You see some information about the different political risk data, the KPI values, and when you scroll down a little bit, we have some additional information about the risk data displayed in two bar charts. Here, the natural risks. And if we click next, we see the political risks. And here on the y-axis, the KPI values. And now we want to have a detailed view on this location. So we open the location info window. And here in this window, we find detailed information about the supplier. And these informations are shown in 6 different tabs. The first one, the general info tabs, contains basic information like the name and the product. And we find also the information about the supplied locations here. And we draw all this information directly from the ERP system. So we can add and modify here some entries and save them. And so the system is bidirectional. So all entries saved here are drawn back to the ERP system and the other way around. The location tab contains the address data and also the information about the coordinates of this location. And the natural risk data, the natural risk tab is in the defines or you find here the detailed risk KPI scores of the integrated natural risks. So the natural risk KPI shown here is derived from the maximum of the individual risk. So in this case, it's the seismic hazard KPI value with 8.9. Here in the political risk tab, you find the detailed CONIAS risk KPI scores. And as with natural hazards, the political risk KPI is composed of the maximum of the individual risks. In this case, it's the social conflicts with a score of 9.66. As I mentioned before, this KPI value indicates how vulnerable the location is to the single risk. And now we see, yes, this location is very susceptible in terms of social conflicts. The proc info tab, it's a very important tab. Here you can add additional information about a location. So let's say one supplier is very exposed against river flood because he is very close to a river. The river flood KPI value will be very high. However, if the location management has taken precautions such as different types of flood protection, you can mention this here and in the tab, and you can recalculate the KPI value. So the term risk mitigation has to be mentioned here. In the last tab, the overall risk tab, you find an overview of all different risk KPI values for this location. Okay, this application or this module, procurement module, contains other widgets as well, like the filter widget. It's up here. Here you can filter your suppliers over on other map content, and here we find predefined filters which are specified by the customer, but we can also create own filters on the fly. So if we zoom out a little bit, put it here, and now we want to show all the locations with high political risk. For that, we activate the filter location. Now we see here in our network are 100 supplier locations with a high political risk. Here you find some detail filters for each political risk. So if we activate the high violent conflicts KPI filter, you see here some locations in India, and worldwide there are 36 supplier locations with a high violent conflicts KPI. Yes, we can also export our data. For that, we can select the specific location we want to export. For that, we say maybe we want our location here in Spain and South France. Here you say we have 382 selected supply locations and 8 plant locations. And now we can export them to CSV file or to a GeoJSON. We can do some statistical measurements. We can also show the information in the attribute table. And here we can also export them via the attribute table. Export data to CSV file. Okay. And here you see all the information, what's integrated here in our supplier. Okay. Considering the time, let me briefly summarize the procurement module before we switch to the other application. So the procurement module offers the possibility to locate and evaluate all suppliers and visualize them according to their risk. The user learns directly how many suppliers are exposed against which specific single risk and can react accordingly. And furthermore, various export functions can be used to report directly to the management about the current situation of the suppliers in the supply chain. Okay, let's move to our alerting module. So what functionality does the solution offer? The module offers the possibility of graphically displaying supply chains between suppliers and plant locations using a variety of selection options. But first, what do we see here? For that, we open the legend again. Here, in this case, the blue stars represents our own plant locations, and all these locations are calculated or are based on the implemented risks. But now, the colored points don't represent the risk classes, but the supplier tier level. So the red dots are tier 2 suppliers, and the yellow ones are tier 1 supplier. Here in the layer list, you find also the integrated risk data, like the political risks. And if you activate them, you see, take some time now, you see it, that we here use 5 risk classes with an equal interval and a specific color ramp. So this is truly individual adaptable. Okay, turn the risk layer off. Okay, so let's have a look to the functionality. For that, we open the supply chain trace widget. We find it here. And now we can use different selection mode to create a supply chain. We can search for a specific plant. We can search for a specific supplier. We can click to the map with a specific radius to select our locations, or we can draw a polygon on the map and create a supply chain. So for that, I do the Brexit example. So now all locations in Great Britain are selected. And now I click Run Trace. Now you see the connection or the network for our plant locations in Great Britain. For more information, we can click the checkbox Show Trace Result with Direction. And with this checkbox, we can visualize the material flow in our supply chain. So when we rerun the trace, you see a dynamic functionality. So you see which location transport which material to which other location and then back to the plant. Maybe some of you remember Hurricane Michael. I have a screenshot from our system. So Michael was a very strong hurricane with a damage of more than 50 billion US dollar in the year 2018, I guess. Yeah. And as you see, our tier 2 supplier in Tallahassee was hit by the Michael, so the hurricane was over. You also see the different wind buffers around the hurricane track line here, the yellow, the orange and green parts. So we got a warning message before the hurricane occurred here in this location and said, watch out, the supply location in Tallahassee could be hit by the hurricane. And then we had the opportunity in advance to find an alternative supplier for the specific product which is produced at this location in this network. And for that, I switch back to our application. For that, we have the possibility to show alternative results if they are there on the network. And if we rerun the supply chain, you see that Tallahassee is not part of the supply chain anymore. But now New York supplies the location in Vancouver. It looks very simple, but this is highly complex because different business systems are integrated. It is checked whether the alternative location in New York has the required product in its warehouse, or if New York produces the product itself. what the capacity utilization of the site is, and whether it can be ramped up, etc. But why is this so important? So if a supplier fails, this has or can have an enormous impact on the supply chain. The just-in-time, just-in-sequence production stands still, which causes enormous costs. And with the solution, the user recognize at an early stage whether alternative suppliers are available in the existing supply chain. And if not, he can start looking for alternatives at an early stage in order to be one step ahead of the competition, because manufacturers often have the same sub-suppliers, especially in the automotive industry. And the solution offers the enormous advantage that the user is always informed about the current situation in his supply chain, and the responsible supply chain manager receives the information directly via an email or a message on his mobile device if there's a hazard event. And this enables him to react proactively to any potential hazard that may arise, or at least to react faster than the competition to the events, when events such as earthquakes are unforeseeable. It's often days later that the media, or if it's television or print media, tell us about what was happening in the world. And so if you use such a solution, you get the information directly on your screen, on the computer, or on your mobile device. Okay, I talked a lot about live data. So if we open the layer list again, you see we have lots of different risk data integrated, like the COVID-19 world cases. So if we activate them, you see all the cases. So if you click on one country, like in France, you see there are over 200,000 confirmed cases. We have over 71,000 recovered and over 30,000 deaths here in France. What else do we see? We can, sorry for that, clear all. So we have also information about seismic data. So if we activate them, these are USGS seismic data. So if we click on such an earthquake, you see additional information. When did it happen? You see it was yesterday. And you have also detailed information. So if you click on this link, you see nothing. If you click on this link, you see the USGS additional information about this earthquake in Slovenia. So if any interesting information is used, you can find this directly on this homepage. Yeah, as I mentioned before, we can integrate all different risk data that provide common interfaces. So it really depends on the customer how or which risk data they want to use in their application. To sum up, with our solution, the users know how vulnerable the location, the suppliers, the hubs in his supply chain are, and can react to emerging threats either proactively or at least very quickly through integrated live data. And in the event of a supplier failure, the user or the customer can very quickly look for alternatives and thus reduce the cost caused by production downtime. Yeah, another important point is the advantage of being quicker than the competition in sourcing a new supplier, as manufacturers often have the same suppliers. So considering the time, I now come to an end of my live demo, but before, I guess it's time for another poll question, isn't it? So I hand over to you again, Jessica.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, for your interesting demonstration. Before we go over to the Q&A part, we have one final poll question for the audience, and I will launch it now. So after you heard all that information about risk management solutions and political risk data, we would now like to know if you're interested in further information about risk management solutions, political risk data, about the combination of both, or about neither. So please take the time to answer our last poll, and then we will move over to the Q&A part. I'm closing the poll now, so thank you everybody for voting. We really appreciate it. And I'll share the results one last time. So 17% are interested in political risk data, and nearly 60% of you are interested in the combination of both, which is really nice. And yeah, we really appreciate that. And 25% aren't interested in either of them. So thank you very much. And now we will move over to the Q&A part. So thank you very much for sending in your questions. We are happy to answer all of your questions regarding the risk management solutions and political risk data now. We won't be able to answer all of them right now, but we will start with a few and are happy to provide you with a follow-up email regarding your question if we aren't able to answer them in the short time slot we have available now. So the first question we got is, which data is being provided by MBI? So I think, Karina, I will hand this one over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Actually, a lot, I think. So beside the, as we demonstrated, the CONIAS risk index, the political risk index is coming from MBI. But more so important are also the boundaries. So MBI is also providing the global administrative area level, postcode, or even small area level in certain regions. It's also the socio-demographic data, which is very important. So it's all about the combination. And I read that 25% are not interested in either of the solution nor the data. So maybe we can find you finding more interest in our other data we provide. But also we distribute the HERE map data, which is actually coming from HERE technology, the map data, which is the clue. So everything is combined based on the data level. So without location doesn't make sense, right? And all can be incorporated in the current solution. So I hope that helps. So it's quite a massive data load which comes in these risk management solution. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Karina. So moving on to the next question we got, the question was, what does the licensing model for your software tools look like? So I think, Jürgen, I'm giving over this one to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, I can answer this question. So we have different license models to choose from. On the one hand, as on-premise license model, who for customers who want to keep the technology and data in-house and not in the cloud, but also on the other hand, we can offer solutions as software as a service solution for the cloud if needed, and it's any more cheaper. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. And our next question is, what is the current process for implementing your risk tools? I think this is also a question for you, Jürgen, right?
Yes, of course, I can answer this too. So the current process, there's not only one process, there are different processes for implementation. We have to take a closer look with the customer what he wants to and how he wants to integrate his data in the solution. But normally we accompany the entire risk management process together also with partners from the risk assessment to the implementation of the solutions. But if you are interested in the overview of these processes, please contact us.
Thank you very much. So we have one final question that we will answer right now, and it is, how rigid are your software tools? Are they customizable? So I think, Lawrence, this is a question for you.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica, and thanks for this question. Yeah, as I mentioned in my demo at one point or another, our software solutions are not rigid, so they are individual adaptable, starting with the design through the integration of different risk data to the individual weighting and classification of the risk data. So it means we can carry out weighting at individual risk level, but also on country and regional level. So the short answer is no, our solutions are not rigid, they are individual adaptable. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jürgen, Lawrence, and Karina for answering all the questions we got. And I think we are slowly reaching the end of our session. And again, we will share the slides and the recording of this webinar with you, as well as answers to the questions we didn't have time to answer here. We hope that we were able to give you a small but interesting insight into the use of CONIAS political risk data in conjunction with Geocom's risk management tools. We would like to give you the possibility of an interesting introduction to the use of the data in combination with the Geocom solutions. So if you're interested, please contact us for an offer of a proof of concept using the tools. So again, thank you very much to our presenters, Karina, Jürgen, and Lawrence, and thank you all for taking the time to attend. Since we are always very interested in your feedback and of course want to improve further, we would really appreciate it if you would take the time to answer some feedback questions right after the webinar. If you don't have time now, you will also be able to answer them through a link provided in the follow-up email. We are working on new topics also for the next webinar, so stay tuned for the future. Thank you in advance and have a very nice afternoon and a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.